What's up guys, Sal here. So recently there was a benchmark leak of the Galaxy Note 20 Plus that suggested we would see an overclocked version of the Snapdragon 865 Plus with over 3 GHz of clock speed. The highest clock speed we have right now is the Snapdragon 855 Plus that runs at 2.96 GHz. So everyone was excited that we would get a new processor for the Galaxy Note 20 that should somewhat help differentiate it from the Galaxy S20 series of phones. But it looks like the new Snapdragon processor is not happening. Although Qualcomm is still officially silent on the Snapdragon 865 Plus case, Wan Zhijiang, who's the head of marketing of Meizu, which is a Chinese smartphone company, has just spoken about this topic. According to him, Qualcomm has no intention to manufacture a Snapdragon 865 Plus variant this year, which could disappoint some tech enthusiasts. Meizu is a Qualcomm partner and uses its products, so it can be assumed that Wan should be well informed about the further plans of Qualcomm, and I don't think we have any reason to not believe him. In a way, I guess this is good news for the Exynos users because there's already around 10 to 20% difference between the Snapdragon 865 and Exynos 990. And if Qualcomm releases 865 Plus this year, then the difference will only widen and will piss the Exynos users even more. Also, there was a report a few days ago that Samsung is making a 5nm Exynos chipset for Google for use in Pixel phones and in other devices. And it was mentioned that they would release this new chipset later this year. But only part of that was true. I mean, we have more information with code names to suggest Samsung and Google are indeed working together to create a custom Exynos chips, but it won't launch this year. New information suggests we could see this happen next year. This chipset will be built on 5nm process and will use ARM stock cores instead of Mongoose cores, which were one of the biggest reasons for the Exynos processor phones to have inferior battery life. Additionally, Samsung has even partnered with AMD to bring Radeon GPUs to its chipsets, which means Exynos processors should perform on par or even better than the Snapdragon processors. But we'll see next year how all of this is gonna turn out. So we all know at this point that Exynos processors are inferior to the Snapdragon in both CPU as well as GPU. And today we have another video just to showcase that. BoneBuff did a speed test comparison between the Exynos and Snapdragon variants of the Galaxy S20, and as you can see, there is clearly a difference here. 8 seconds to be exact, which is kind of an improvement compared to last year, and you wouldn't notice the difference in real life, but still, these two are the same devices and the difference shouldn't be there to begin with, especially when users are paying the exact same prices or even more in some cases to the Exynos variants. I hope we don't get to see this next year with the new Exynos chipsets with a possible AMD graphics. Do let me know what you think about this down in the comments. As always, I'll see you tomorrow. Peace out.